Hi there, Ron Shera here for Star Bank. If you're putting your money into mega banks down the street, who knows where that money's being used? It's time to make the switch. Bank locally. Keep your money local with a community bank that actually cares about you, your family, your business, and your goals. Let me give you some advice from personal experience. Check out the bank we use at Minnesota Bound. Try Minnesota's own Star Bank. You can find them online at starbank.net. When you call Star Bank, you actually hear a real living person answering the phone. Star Bank has 10 convenient locations around Minnesota to serve you and all the mobile banking products that you need to manage your money. From Maple Lake to Elbow Lake, Eagle Bend to Eden Prairie. Check out all that Star Bank has to offer at starbank.net.
Well, hey there, everybody. Bill Shirk, the man about the woods. Welcome to the Minnesota Bound podcast, the stories behind the stories. And first off, thanks so much to our sponsors that help us get this podcast out to you each week. Of course, the presenting sponsor of the Minnesota Bound podcast, Connecticut Home Water Systems, as well, North Dakota, where you can choose to be legendary, and Star Bank, the official bank of Minnesota Bound. Thanks so much to those sponsors. So we have a pretty fun topic to talk about today. It concerns one of my friends, and it applies to a lot of people who are in the world of professional athletics. Keith Ballard joins us. If you recognize that name, Ballard is kind of synonymous with fishing in Minnesota. Keith, not because of you, but because of the rest of your family. What's going on?
How you doing, buddy?
I'm great.
I'm happy to be here.
I'm surprised you're home and not out on a lake somewhere at the cabin.
I just got home about 2 hours ago. I've spent the last 4 days on the lake, which has been outstanding. The only thing I missed was that beautiful green boat pulling up to my dock.
at 4:54 in the morning.
4:54 to throw some topwaters. I won't tell the spot, though.
That is sort of the topic we're talking about today. So you grew up north at one of the most famous fishing camps in all of Minnesota, Ballard's Resort. So you grew up surrounded by walleye fishing, but hockey and professional sports took you away from the outdoor world.
Yes.
And that's kind of how you and I got to know each other, right? Because we started fishing and doing a little hunting together, and I kind of had this feeling you were making up for lost time. And so let's talk about that. You grow up in a fish camp, and that's all you're doing as a kid, right?
Yeah. You know what? As a young kid, it was kind of tag along with Dad all the time. Whether it be him on the ice, getting people out ice fishing. If the boat wasn't full on a guided trip that day, I'd hop in the boat, or, family vacations were run across the lake and fish. And, those were our family activities. As I got, and I didn't know any better, 5-year-olds catching, 28-inch walleyes left and right, or whatever have you. And I was spoiled in a way that, I have this amazing resource right at my fingertips. But as I got older, my love kind of went towards hockey, I guess. I spent so much time playing hockey, and being up there, we don't have, the conveniences of, I live in the metro area now where, maybe there's a practice in the summer or a camp in the summer, and we have to drive 20 minutes for the kids, or, like that. It's all right. Mom or dad will bring me down to the metro area, and I stay with the family for a week. And it kind of evolved into that. That was a lot of my summer. Not all of it, but probably it took 3-4 weeks of my summer. Different tournaments, different things, different camps. And it was a big inconvenience, I think, not on them, but just, you're driving 300 miles each way to do it. And they knew I loved it, and they kind of supported it. So fishing, hunting, the outdoor stuff, as I got into that 13, 14-year-old years kind of took a back seat to hockey, and then there was golf, and I loved playing golf, and but there was a lot of times there where I guess missed out.
Well, yeah, because just the schedule during the season, obviously you're playing in the NHL at some point. So what's your window?
Yeah.
October to May, June, you're committed to
Yep.
your job, not being outside.
Yeah, and like you said, as I got older, kind of work got in the way. It was a great job, and I'm very thankful I got to live out a childhood dream. But yeah, it wasn't really any of that. And then you get home in the summers, and as you get older, married, kids, it's kind of family time. So it's less about fishing trips, or you couldn't really get any hunting trips in. So I remember the 2012 lockout. I was playing in Vancouver at the time, and we didn't start that year until January. And I think I hunted most of October, most of November, and I think even a little bit into December, which for me, it had been a long time since, laying in the field shooting mallards or goose hunting or pheasant hunting, any of that stuff. I had a blast doing it. And fast forward a couple of years, once I retired, it kind of, that spark was still there. And then we had met, I think, must have been 2013, found out we have the cabin on the same lake. And, so I'm able to get a lot of different things in now that I grew up really enjoying to do. And the fun part is being able to get my kids into those things as well.
So that's a good point, right? Because for me, now that I have boys who are 9 and 11, they're really active outdoors. My focus is a lot less on me and more about their experiences. You've got a house full. Are you able to balance that? Or is your focus on making sure the boys get out and catch a few fish, or do you still find time to do it yourself?
Well, a perfect time. I mentioned the green boat. A perfect. I can get my fix jumping in with you in the boat in the morning, up on Gull Lake, and going to our secret spots, which we will not tell anybody.
Excuse me.
Sorry, is AJ listen to this? But no, getting that in, being able to get home, and then just help the kids out a little bit if they want to fish. A lot of it, as you know, is especially for the younger two, is untangling lines.
Yep.
Cleaning up messes, but it's fun when you see them be able to do it on their own, and be able to go out there on their own and start catching fish. We've had some great times this summer. My she's 10 and kind of caught on to nice, bright, sunny day. How can we get the bass to bite when they're under the dock? It's basic, but for her, a 1.5-pound bass feels huge on her little light rod.
Oh yeah.
And she has a blast with it. And the only time, she really needs me, she likes to be independent and do it herself, is if the hook's just a little too deep in the fish's mouth and she can't quite get it out. But I've had so many fun pictures of her this summer with nice big bass. So it's super cool doing that.
It's kind of the next chapter.
Yes.
Go back. So you're in the NHL. You start where?
Started in Phoenix. Back before it was the Arizona Coyotes, it was the Phoenix Coyotes. I played a year. My first year pro was the 04-05 lockout. I left after my junior year of college, and signed there. So I played the first year. There wasn't an NHL season that year, which was developmentally wise was really good. So I played first year in the minors with Arizona's farm team, and then played 3 years there, 2 years in Florida, 3 years in Vancouver, and my last 2 with the Wild.
After all the concussions, you still remember.
Exactly. Oh gosh, I still put the milk in the cupboard sometimes, but other than that, I'm good. No, I'm joking. Thankfully, all that stuff is cleared up.
True
Um,
story for you.
yep,
I went to get the milk 48 hours ago.
yep.
It wasn't in the refrigerator, and I had this thing in my head. I went, really? I go to the
Mm-hmm.
cereal cupboard. The boys had put
Yep,
the milk back in with the rice checks.
yep.
So is that a sign that I should be worried about my child?
Well, do you? I don't think so. Maybe they don't. If they're anything like most kids, maybe they just don't pay attention. Hey, at least the milk was put away and not just left on the counter for
Oh
somebody
my
else to do
gosh.
it.
Well,
That's
thankfully
we
I
could do a
happened
whole
to
no,
run for it.
we could do a whole nother podcast about that.
So you are down in Arizona. Is there any chance to do anything outdoors, or is it just always hot and you're always focused on hockey?
It wasn't. You know what? The winter months in Arizona were beautiful, but through the through the schedule, right? You're playing 82 games. You're practicing every day. And this is before mandated days off, and now they get one day off per week. So you might not have any time, and then and as the season goes long, pulled groins here, hip flexors here, bad back here, shoulders bothering me here. So it's how do I get ready for tomorrow? And it's a great, and again, this is not coming, I'm not complaining one bit. It's a great life and it's a great sport. Um, but you spend a lot of your time figuring out how to get ready for the next practice or game.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the extracurriculars really just take a back seat.
My guest today is Keith Ballard, Minnesota hockey icon and outdoorsman these days in his own right. You're listening to the Minnesota Bound podcast, brought to you by several of our good friends and sponsors. First up, North Dakota, where you literally get a chance to be legendary. One of my favorite places to go and visit, to hunt and fish. Be sure to plan your next trip at ndtourism.com. Also, our good friends at the Pizza Barn in Princeton, one of the best places to stop and grab a little bite to eat. And then Star Bank, of course, the official bank of Minnesota Bound in the podcast. We appreciate all the support. Again, talking to Keith Ballard just about how a professional athlete tries to balance, or maybe not balance, life outdoors with a career as an athlete. So you go from Arizona, then you end up again where? In Florida? Is that right?
In Florida, yeah. Yep.
So you're in the heart of saltwater fishing territory.
Yes.
Was there any or no? Again,
There
you're
was.
always sitting with ice or
There
getting ready
was.
for practice.
No, we had, I think it was All-Star break one year, my wife and I, but this was before we had children. Instead of going anywhere, we just rented a hotel in Fort Lauderdale, which was a 20-minute drive. And it happened to have been cold for 5 days. I guess the sailfish were migrating, and we got lucky and timed it perfectly. We had a half day fishing, and we had six sailfish between 5.5 and 8.5 feet long
Oh my
that
gosh.
morning. It was outstanding. And then a couple mahi just for a bonus. But yeah, it was something that, we didn't do a lot. And it, like I previously mentioned, a lot of that stuff just took a back seat. It's, you're kind of focused on your job and how can I make sure I'm ready to go for tomorrow? How can I be better? Things like that. And quite frankly, you don't have a lot of time. You travel a lot. So when you do get home, you kind of just want to relax.
Yeah, just sit.
Yeah,
And if you have kids, actually see them.
exactly. And I know in my later years, it was days off, just the little things that you take for granted sometimes about, bringing them to school or going to pick them up from an activity or going to watch an activity that a lot of you miss out on all of that.
So that's interesting, right? You come back to Minnesota, you're a member of the Wild for a couple of years, you call it a career, and I remember you taking such great joy from grocery shopping. No joke.
I enjoy the grocery store quite a bit.
You'd call me and be like, this is amazing.
I still do. It's there are a lot of little things though that that you don't do, and one of them is little things like that. Right now, I'm in a position where I'm able to coach my older two's hockey teams, which is so much fun.
Cheaters.
Just being cheaters.
You have a level of prowess that most coaches do not have. Just saying.
I always say, and I really enjoy coaching, because I know growing up for me, I had people that took the time, and I was lucky that their impact they made on your first introduction to the game, whether it's hockey, soccer, whatever it is, they made it a positive one. And I always think about that, and I always think about, all right, I've got an hour with all these kids, and 90% of them I don't know, but I want them coming back tomorrow. And that's kind of my motivation for, especially the little kids, their first introductions into the game. I want them to think this is fun, and I want to be here again tomorrow. So that's kind of my whole mentality when I'm on the ice. And as they get older, you teach them more, and you can see it getting implemented into the game. But just being able to do that, I think there's a lot of great coaches, and it doesn't even matter hockey backgrounds at all. If you can make a positive impact on the kid, you're doing a good job. But
and that's coaching with passion. But I would argue that when you're in the boat with the kids on a panfish spot, you're just as dialed in and just as excited to share that.
It's yes. And I had mentioned this, like just watching the kids catch fish on their own, and you see the accomplishment of, Dad, I did it. This is awesome. Can we do it again? It's the exact same thing. And to be able to, combine hockey and then be involved in introducing them to the outdoors, I think is so cool because, hockey can last for, depending on how long you play, but it doesn't always last forever. But you can always go fishing. You can always go hunting. I took them duck hunting last fall. They had such a good time. Whether we're packing snacks, we're sitting in the boat. Had a few come in, and just watching them kind of get down and stay quiet and watch the birds move. And you're trying to trick them. I'm not a. It's funny. I'm not. I love duck hunting. I love pheasant hunting. I love fishing, but I don't devote all my time to any of them. It's one of those things where sometimes you have to really lock into them to be really good at them. I just enjoy them, and I want my kids to enjoy them as well.
So what's it like for you to go back home, back to Ballard's Resort on Lake of the Woods, where walleye fishing is king?
Well, we were there just before the 4th this year. We usually go every year around that time. Part of it is that it's grandma and grandpa are there. Kids have their cousins there. There's a lot of family members around. So everyone always asks me, "Oh, I'm sure you go fishing every day." I'm like, kind of just trying to see everybody that I don't see very often. But we always go every year. We always fish every year. And this year, for example, we go fish for an hour and a half, and my 3 kids and my nephew and my youngest niece all went with my dad and I and my wife. We're 20 plus walleyes in an hour and a half, and the kids are like, "All right, let's go to the pool now." They don't realize how good fishing is and what they're being exposed to. But they all had a blast. They all caught fish. So it's really fun. It's really fun just being able to give them that opportunity And it's so different from our life here. And that's they can see where I grew up, um, things I used to do as a kid, whether it's jumping on the four-wheeler and riding through the trails in the woods or little things like that you don't have in your neighborhood.
Hmm. So I got to ask you this.
Okay.
Do you miss hockey? Do you miss playing?
That's really funny that you brought that up. My wife and I were sitting on the deck last night talking about it, and I said, not a chance I miss hockey. And she said, I agree with you. She goes, I don't think any part of you misses hockey. Not that I didn't love hockey, but I never looked at myself. I think sometimes pro athletes identify as their, I'm a hockey player, I'm a football player, I'm a golf, whatever they are. I never felt like that. I never felt any different. Maybe it was because I was raised in a pretty humble family, in a blue collar family where this is just what you do. And now can you be a good husband and father in person? So that part of it, retiring from hockey wasn't really something that bothered me. It was more, I can't believe I got to do this for so long
I,
versus,
I would argue that's the mentality of a lot of hockey players. Not
I
to
agree with you.
stereotype, but they're much more grounded,
Yep.
much more approachable.
Yep. I'd say the one thing that has changed is I like meeting new people a lot more than I used to when I was playing. Part of that is you're guarded a little bit as an athlete
Sure.
because you're not sure who's who and what, if are there ulterior motives but I've met so many, since I've retired, I've made so many other friends and great people. And then you learn what they do, learn about them, and you learn their story. And I think that's super cool.
Yeah, it's because when you're a hockey player, everyone was afraid to talk to you
Or
because you were vicious.
I remember talking to my dad one time on the phone, and it was hockey question after hockey question. And I finally just said, "Hey, I kind of want to just talk to you about like what's going on. Like I talk about hockey too much. You go to family functions or different things, and everyone's talking about you know your job, which I get. They're interested in. That's wonderful. I think it's great, and I was very well supported through my family, extended family, the community. But sometimes you just don't want to talk about work.
Yeah, it's a funny position you're in, right?
Yeah, but a great position. Like I said, wouldn't trade it for the world.
I take great joy from our Gull Lake mornings. Just to clarify,
Oh,
we go out before anyone is awake or on the lake. We have it to ourselves. We go fish for a couple hours. When things are looking good, we catch some fish and home in time for breakfast. And you have not impacted your family time, but you've still had the experience to get out and enjoy what the heck Minnesota is offering during the summer months, right?
those are the best mornings, and you nailed it with before anyone's out. When you're watching the sun come up and you're catching bass, and it's pretty quiet other than Brady making fun of me because he catches more fish than me. It's a pretty cool morning, and to be able to be home and kids are just waking up and get the pancakes going. It's such a good way to spend the morning. That kind of stuff is like those mornings I absolutely love.
I do too. I wish there were more of them.
Yes, there will be.
But unlike you, now that you're retired, you just have time to play and I have to work. I have to grind. I'm a grinder in the outdoor television and communications business. I am a grinder.
All I do is grind every
And
day.
happy to do so. So before we wrap this up, I do have another question for you. I know how
Yep.
much you like having a shotgun in hand. Is it
Yep.
fishing these days for you or is it hunting?
You know what's really fun? You get to do both. To be able to have our mornings like we have on Gull Lake in our secret spot, which if anybody wants to shoot me an email or something, I will give it away for the right amount of money.
Or just talk to Kevin Erickson. I think he's got it tattooed on his back now.
Exactly. No, you know what? To be able to do both, I love the unpredictability of both. I love how we can go out in the morning and they're hammering the baits the day before, and we're there the same time, the next day, and you never know. The same with duck hunting. To be able to, how can we figure out late in the season that these mallards are going to land in our decoys? I love both. And the best part about all of these things is the people you're with. It doesn't matter if it's a golf trip, a hunting trip, a fishing trip. It's being with the right people. That's 90% of the fun. Because everyone's doing something they enjoy doing or they wouldn't be there. But listening to stories, listening to jokes, you get a long running tradition of groups of guys getting together year over year. That's what makes it for me.
Pretty fun stuff. And I'm glad you're making up for lost time. Because I don't know that I would be able to turn my back on, the fun stuff we do outdoors. Just to focus on other things. But again, you're a pretty good hockey player. And
I do think there were probably times I could have done it more. But like I mentioned, it's just, there's only so many days off you get, and to get up in the morning and to go put your body through, whether it's an early morning or, working at, getting out in a deer stand or a duck blind or that, it's, I guess, long-term, probably more beneficial to just take care of yourself and get some sleep.
Right. Well, Keith, thanks for joining us today. I will see you in the boat real soon. We're going to try a new spot just because our old one is now so beat up.
Ooh.
But that's okay. I have others. We will go and we will catch fish.
I did some recon on the old spot, and it was quiet every day this weekend.
Love it.
And I didn't touch it. And I did not touch it.
We're just having fun, making fun of friends who invade our favorite fishing spots when we're not around. That's life.
What's funny?
That's how it goes.
Everybody listening to this has that friend where you can't tell them the spot, or they'll tell everybody.
But you know what? The hardest fish to catch are other people's. Thanks, Keith.
Thanks,
Appreciate
buddy.
it. And thanks to North Dakota Tourism, ndtourism.com. Plan your next adventure. The way the world is right now, getting outdoors is as important as it has ever been, and going to North Dakota to do it is a great spot. Of course, the presenting sponsor of the Minnesota Bound podcast, Connecticut Home Water Systems, and do your banking at Star Bank, the bank of Minnesota Bound. That's the Minnesota Bound podcast for this week. I'm getting outdoors. I need to go pick up Keith at the dock. We'll see you next week. And until then, don't forget to introduce a kid to the great outdoors.